I got no problem being terrible at something.
My favorite word is harmonize. You know, it's better than balance because nothing's ever balanced. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Strength Connection podcast. I'm Michael Kurkowski. I'm so grateful that you can join me today. So today on the show, we are infusing strength training, yoga, and martial arts together all in one dynamic package. That is what my guest David Welek has done with his program, the Black Dragon Method. So David is the only strong First Elite instructor who is also a level 3 Animal Flow instructor, and his experience and expertise in movement has helped him develop a system of training. It's truly like no other. It was so great to connect with David. We've connected via social media for quite some time, and it's always great to finally converse with someone that you've felt like you've known forever. So this was truly insightful conversation about how to intertwine many great systems together in strength. All right, so with that, we're just going to get right to it, okay? If you like the episode, you want to show the podcast some love, please rate and review it wherever you're listening, and don't forget to subscribe and catch all new episodes dropped every single week. All right, thank you very much, guys. Now let's get on with the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. David Welek, what's up, man? It's nice to meet you.
Man, it's so nice to meet you. I've been loving your podcast. This one and the one before that too, the Breaking Secrets Breakthrough Secrets. Yeah. So I love that one too. Been listening to you, a long time listener.
Oh, appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. And no, it is. You're one of the guys that we've connected, quite a bit over the last year or so, through messaging. So I feel like I know you. We have a kinship through strength training work, to be able to have you on now and talk about, Black Dragon, everything like that. It's going to be really, really cool. So
great.
One thing I wanted to kind of kick this off too, because you did something for me this year that, we went back and forth through messaging, and I do a lot of audio messaging, and I know you kind of do that too. And before I went into my SFL work, you threw it on. It just kind of gave me some advice of like, be in the moment at that time. Like, you're going for elite, like a lot of stuff comes at you, like you're going to be testing the first day. And he's like, and you told me your story. Like I was so worried about my testing and stuff. And all of a sudden, like the whole weekend went by so fast because I was so focused on that, where if I could go back, like enjoy every part of the moment. And it's something funny because like I've heard that before. It's like something that's like, okay, absolutely, totally get it. But you were in my head right off the bat, like at the beginning of that, because I was there and I did. It was one of the best experiences, completed everything from there. But just the message out there, I didn't ask you about that. You just kind of threw that out there, and it was a really big help. So I appreciate that.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I kind of could put myself in your spot, and, nobody told me that. And so I kind of went into it, and I was so lucky. I got Doc Hartle was the lead instructor, the master instructor for that down in Florida. And I got to be with the man, and so it was so cool to get tested down there. And he made it a personal thing where he said, I was the only one testing for elite that weekend. There's a lot of people retesting this and that, but I was the only one going for elite. And so everybody kind of knew it in the room, like I was going for it and everything. And so there was just a really cool energy to be around. And I had a couple things that I was, I had to make weight. I would cut weight right beforehand. So there's a few things I was a little bit nervous about going in. Everything wasn't set in stone. I wasn't like, a couple of lifts were like, I know I got that. Even if I had the flu, I could get that one. But there's a few that I really had to train up to get to. And so whenever it came down to the retesting, we did that on Friday. We did, of course, the opening lifts, deadlifts, and bench in the morning. And at the end of the day, he had everybody do all the retests. But he's like, well, look, I want you for, you're mine for that. There's other assistants that are going to test everybody else, but like, he's on me. And so like, that's what I want. I want his eyes on me. And if he, I want him to say if I passed or failed, so like, I want that standard, And so, it was a good time. It was really fun. I ripped both my hands in the snatch test, but it was all good, man, because I knew it was downhill from there. And so it was a blast. I sent pictures of my bloody hands back to my my friends, and people were interested back home. And so that's what I did pass it though.
That's so funny. Oh, shout out to Doc. Great. Doc's the best there.
Yeah.
So it's funny. It's funny going for elite because like we did that the same. Like we had to do all our research work at lunchtime, and that first day is just energy bound. I've never been the good guy that like made a bunch of food and stuff like that. So I was like on Cliff Bars like going into this, and normally snatch test has always been like, not cake, but I'm like, I always can go in and I know I'm going to, finish it off. You just get into the groove. But I did so much work with just kind of 1 to 5 rep maxes with the barbell, very, very little kind of recert based work. So that snatch test freaking sucked. I was like around like 40 reps. I'm like, you get the hamstring burn, like the throat's getting I was like, oh, I'm like, all right, like this is going to be a nasty second half going on there. So it's like, it just shows like, no matter how many times you've gone through that again, it's still just it still sucks for that 5 minutes.
And when your head for you were probably like, I've done snatch tests. I've done those a bunch of times. I got other things that I'm kind of iffy about. And so then you forget, like snatch tests in your mind is like less of a priority. So when it comes down to it, it's like, oh wait, I'm in the middle of a snatch test right now. This is kicking my butt.
Oh, 100%. Well, because usually I just have a natural test if I'm going to assist or if I was going to recert, like the week before, I'll just do a quick test just to kind of mentally have it in my head. Like, all right, I just did this a week ago and it's good to roll. But I kind of had a slight pull in a hamstring from heavy deadlifts beforehand. So I was like, I don't need to push it. I'll just go in and just like that. Yeah. I've been doing this for a decade in there. And all of a sudden it's like, oh shit. I'm like, this is going to be nasty. And after that, I was like, Analisa looks over to me and, Analisa's got like the biggest smile on her face all the time. She kind of was like, you all right? I was like, yeah.
But you did pass it though. So
but I did pass. Exactly. It's all good from there. So, no, David, Black Dragon Yoga, I mean, just seeing the work that you do from, I mean, the strength background, but also combining the yoga and martial arts, really cool how you infuse everything together. And you're kind of similar to Oz in my eyes. Like you're my aesthetic role models. I look at the movements that you guys do and I'm like, all right, cool. I can keep getting better because that looks freaking amazing right there. So
well, thank you.
To kick this off, you were telling me a little bit about kind of your origin story, kind of getting into strength first as a kid. If you could, how did you get into this world of strength, which eventually led you into everything that you're doing now?
Yeah. So, the first part of the story, which I think is just kind of funny. I mean, the way I started it was, I was a trainer in my early 20s. I was at ballets back in the day. And I remember I was training people and somebody asked me, one of my clients said, so have you just been in shape all your life? Like you just it's always natural. And I started thinking back, I said, actually, no, I hadn't thought about it until then. And I remembered that in middle school, they divided the kids up, the boys up into high and low gym class. And so you had the high gym class was going to be for the kids that could do, they were going to start teaching track movements like pole vault and high jump and all these kind of movements too. And then with the low gym class, those ones that they just figure like, this is gonna be too much trouble trying to teach these kids. And so I'm just gonna divide it like this. Like I come from a small town.
Man, times have changed. They could never do that nowadays. That's crazy.
Oh no, they couldn't. Oh yeah, parents would be like, my kid's not in the
absolute 100%. Yeah. Okay.
But at the time, it was kind of like, okay, well that's that's where they put me. And I didn't really have a problem with it back then. It's like I was more of a comic book guy, and I was an artist and all this kind of stuff. So I didn't care that much. I mean, I was okay at sports and stuff like that, but I just wasn't gung-ho about it. But anyway, so I got in the low gym class and everything. But the real kicker was when I was 12. So as I said, I was in Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri, and we didn't have neighborhoods and things like that. So if you, in the summer, like if your parents, and like in my case, my parents and my brother were off working. So like I was just by myself a lot, and so like I'd go days and days just hanging out by myself and just entertaining myself. And my dad saw me doing that. And he said, no, we're going to fix this. You need to start lifting weights. And so he got a weight set at home, but then he snuck me into the gym that he worked out at, where they started offering for kids under 16. They're trying to get membership up. They said, if you're 13 or over, we'll let you in, but you have to go through this 6-week program. It's a once a week program of just kind of initiation into lifting weights and about fitness and all that. And so we had this guy, and I just did it because my dad's telling me to do it, and I didn't really have a choice. And so I went in there, and I got really interested in the sciences of working out. So this guy was teaching us about physiology and biomechanics and nutrition and flexibility, mobility training. But I was 12, and so I got this great education. I just kind of lucked into it and realized that there's this whole world behind it. And so I got really turned on by, as an artist, about the creation aspect of I could manipulate these things. Like I could mix these colors and I can make this thing. Well, now I could use that start with my own body, so I started seeing that and I started seeing some changes with that. And then I started seeing my big kicker for me was when I got picked first for dodgeball. And it wasn't even by a friend of mine. It was just, so I realized that, my peers are acknowledging me as like, okay, no longer am I the low gym class thing. And so what was the difference there? Well, that's strength training, and so like years later, I think we were talking about this, about how I thought it was such a cool name, was Strong First. And they, I think Jason Marshall was talking, he giving this lecture about it. And he was saying, I mean, I'm going to screw this up, but he basically said, there's many ways up the mountain. There's something along those lines. And he says, there's a lot of ways to do, work out, but you got to get strong first.
Yeah.
So you got to get strong. You got to have that base of some strength there. And, and so hearing that all these years later, and then going back to my own story to say, like, that is what happened for me. I just got strong first, and then all these dominoes started falling for
right.
me. I had a really good, for me, a good football career in high school. And I started, gaining confidence and just, getting stronger. There was a real game changer for me.
Yeah.
That led into bodybuilding. And then bodybuilding, I just took it. Well, I didn't do the illegal drugs and stuff like that, but I did take it to pretty extreme. And because I just kind of like got turned on by that. Oh, I can build this muscle and I can do this. And so I started looking at, and I was, I was working with all that. And then fortunately I found yoga that was being taught at I became a personal trainer. And then I started seeing that there was this yoga class going on, and I went into it purely for, I thought it would lend to my bodybuilding. I thought that I could get more cut, I could get more flexible, but I really didn't pursue bodybuilding as a healthy thing at all. And it was just about
aesthetics.
Just gotta get bigger. It's just big. And the thing is that you make friends with people that are in that game too, in that mindset. And that's, and the crazy thing is like, I never felt like I was big enough. In the meantime, I was a monster. I mean, I was a big guy, and I still wore really baggy stuff and hid my body because I was like, I'm still not big enough. So it was a real mind F, and so like I was deep into that. But then luckily I saw the yoga people, and I thought maybe add it to my bodybuilding. And so that kind of takes me to one other point I want to make really about this journey. It's really important to understand the Black Dragon thing when I hit on this one.
Sure.
Do you remember in the late 80s, Herschel Walker was, just dominated college football. And then he went to USFL and still did really well there. And then he went for the Cowboys. He played for them. And so, but I remember I was living in Missouri, and I remember that, I knew about Herschel Walker, and that he took up ballet. And my football coaches told me about that. And it just blew my mind that, like, you got this, just stud, running back for the Dallas Cowboys, but he's doing ballet. Like, that doesn't seem right. There's such a paradox I didn't really get. But so it gives him an advantage with his footwork, and and he understands that, like, if it comes down to like whose step gets there a little bit faster, and I can make a break and I can score, then I'm going to do that, whatever that takes. And so I thought, so that really inspired me. That really stuck with me to say, like, in a competition, if you can do one thing that other guys is not doing, then you're going to have that edge. And so that's what the bodybuilding thing is. When I started getting into yoga, which seemed like such a, counterintuitive, to a bodybuilder going into a yoga class, but I'm so glad I did it, because when I went in there, I had a really militant kind of yoga teacher, Suze Curtis, who's still my yoga, I still consider her my yoga teacher from all these years back. So, and so she was such a hard ass. She saw me, and she saw this bodybuilder, and just thought that I was going to, do well. And it was a power yoga class. And so it was really aggressive. Okay. And I sweat like crazy, and I was terrible. I was so bad at it. But she was so, like, she got to me, like she got in my head, and I thought, I'm going to show this lady. I'm going to keep coming back to the class just to show her. But I think that was my wiser self, like, not my dumb, like 22, 23-year-old self. It was, they're just all about just getting big. That wiser self is like, this is going to break you. Like, this bodybuilding is not a good path for you.
Yeah.
You're not smart enough to make that decision for yourself, so I'm going to direct you into this yoga class. I'm going to direct you into this specific yoga teacher. Because if she had been nice, I wouldn't have responded to that. Like, it would have been coddling me. And I was like, I wouldn't have taken that. But instead she was tough. And I knew she was just like, didn't care if I ever came back again. But I was like, I'm going to show her. So I made it this stupid personal mission of mine, just keep going back. And then as I started going back, I was like, I need to start cutting back on my lifting, because I know I want to get better at this. And that saved me. That's completely saved me. So I broke my addiction to just the getting big thing. But I'm glad I had that experience. That's helped me later. I relate to the meathead thing. I mean, I definitely, I understand the appeal, So, but anyway, yoga was my thing. And then I got into martial arts. I saw, I don't know, I'd always been attracted to martial arts and moving like that.
Right.
And it's like, I could almost throw away the fight scenes from martial arts movies. I love the training part, you know, like that's the exciting thing for me. And so like, I got into martial arts. I found a perfect instructor for me. He's still my instructor today. He's 20 something years later. He's still my instructor. I saw him this afternoon. We trained.
Yeah.
And so I started doing, so here's what happened was that the weight training actually did wind up helping out my yoga, because I had a lot of base strength already. And then once I started shedding some of the mass and started getting more mobile, then I could really get deeper and start to advance. And then when I got into the martial arts, the yoga definitely helped my martial arts, and the strength training helped the martial. And so all of them kind of, you know, helped each other. And I started realizing, I think I found my key here to put all these things together. And one more thing too, is my martial arts instructor, he's just perfect for me. You know? So he's like, I was in a locker room one time, and I was just young and dumb. Right. And so I'm in there and I'm training, and it's really hard for me. It's killing me and stuff like that. But I still won't let him see me. You know, I'm not going to cave. I'm not going to show vulnerability, you know, and so I'm still a tough guy. And so my instructor, he comes in back to the locker room, and I'm in there changing, and he said, "Yeah, David, those muscles are pretty, but you can't do anything with them." Said that to my face, which was such an insult to me. Like, I work so hard for this muscle, man. Like I'm eating so much, and I'm training, I'm following all the nutrition guides. And he told me I can't do anything with the muscles. I work so hard to train. And then he said, if you stick with me though, you'll lose about 20 pounds, but you'll be an animal. And I'm like, lose 20 pounds? You know how long it took me to put on 20 pounds?
Yeah, no, seriously.
But I trusted him, you know, and so he took me along the path, and I did lose that 20 pounds, but boy, I'm glad I did, because I'd probably be crippled now at the rate I was going with the bodybuilding. I'm sure.
Yeah. With your teacher in yoga, you said like she was really tough in there. Like, first off, what was it about yoga that you thought was going to help you with bodybuilding? Was it the mobility? Did someone say that they did that? Like, how did that come about? No, I don't, you know, it's funny you asked that, because like, I, for some reason, thought that it I don't know, maybe not even that I cared about the flexibility part. I had no idea how inflexible I was, by the way. I just went in there and but I thought maybe it might help me with, not necessarily maybe leaning out, but maybe just getting some more cuts. I cared just more cuts. You know, I just wanted my body more cut up, and I thought yoga probably do that. And the teacher was very cut up. She was, and I think she had a bodybuilding background. In fact, I know she had a bodybuilding background too. Okay, yeah. So she had that look, you know, but she was a yoga teacher. But man, she was hard on me, man. She literally did not care if I came back. In fact, I think she was like just picking on me in class, like, you know, and was like sure of it that she'd never see me again. But I showed her, you know. Yeah. Well, you know, it's tough. It's like, I mean, you know, that tough love aspect of teaching is, you know, I think a little bit more, you know, micro rather than is macro now. But I came from that world with a lot of people too, where it's like, when they like push you, like I almost had like an innate thought that when the instructor or the coach was like, when you had their attention, that was good. That means that they're trying to help you. Like if you're the one that's getting ignored, I was like trying to pop up there and like get in front, like, hey, watch how I'm fucking up over here. You know, it's like, come on, come on, teach me. But you know, the bodybuilding side of it's so interesting how you kind of said, it just kind of messes with your mind a bit. And it's almost interesting because, you know, powerlifting, strength athletes, I think it could be just as tough on your body if you're pushing over and over again, but the mentality of it is a little bit different. I wonder if it's because bodybuilding is so highly subjective of it. It's like where like you build everything, but then all of a sudden you're on stage and it's kind of, you're up to a few people to tell you whether you're first place, second place, or third place, where strength is more objective. It's like, if you lift this, you lift it or so. I wonder if that has something to do with the mentality of it.
I think you're hitting on it. I think that's I mean, that makes perfect sense. You know, I never got to the stage. I never went there. I bodybuilded just for me personally, but there were guys that started asking me, you know, like, hey, you know, you should definitely look into it. You know, we can help you along those ways. You know, there's a lot of enablers. They're ready to help you take this pursuit. And I got no disrespect for bodybuilding pursuit at all. I think it takes a tremendous amount of discipline, and I respect anybody that can just like put everything aside, their life aside, and just like focus on something. I think there's I respect any pursuit that you're gonna go for it like that. It's just at a certain point, it does lend into a lot of, could potentially into a lot of negative and dangerous things. And you're not going to have a lot of people around to say like, hey man, yeah, I think you're going a little too far. In fact, you're going to have people around you say like, you know, go right on, brother. You know, like they're right there with you. So nobody was going to save me. Luckily the yoga saved me for myself, because none of the people I hung out with, and I'm not saying anything bad about them. They were mixed up in the same thing I was. So it's like, you know, but I'm glad I went there, you know, like I'm glad I can live to tell about it, you know.
100%. Yeah.
And now I've got the pleasure of getting to work with some recovering bodybuilders, you know, because I would say my specialty in the gym that I work in, a lot of people come to me as the mobility guy. And so I can approach that from a lot of different ways. And so people just come to me and we just kind of assess the situation, and we may hit it with some original strength or some, you know, stick mobility, yoga background or my martial arts background. There's a lot of ways we can do it that, you know, that we can make some changes. But I had this girl she actually made it to Miss Olympia. She didn't win, but I think she might've been in it three different years. And we've talked about her, you know, her story basically. And I'm so fascinated by that, you know, how she went there to the extreme level. She was there, you know? And so, and I asked her, like, do you regret it? She's like, I don't know that I regret it, but I got no interest in, you know, ever doing it again. And then just like, she does feel lucky too, that she made it without, like, she's not crippled or anything like that, but she definitely created some problems in those joints. I mean, we really have to work hard to get her out of that. But that's where I was going too. I mean, I was just a knucklehead.
I totally get it. And I think, you know, it's, you know, you hear a lot of the horror stories behind it, but the benefits of it, like the ability to have the reference point in your own mind of being able to do the nutrition, do the cardio, do the training when you're, I've been so deep on the intuitive training side, but realizing the discipline factor of it is so vital to get down, and to know that you can, for a season or so, like do that, like going, like when I talked with Danny Casey, you know, from New York Weightlifting Academy, they said that, like, that's why I ask people to compete, like, even if they're beginners or so, like, just go in and compete in something, go against yourself, but putting yourself out there where, okay, you've got a deadline, you've got something, because it allows you to keep that mindset of knowing you're not going to feel good some days, but still get you into the gym and still push it. Those are the things that I think as coaches, we can't teach people. Like, they have to go through that experience themselves. We can provide reference points, and kind of like your yoga teacher, she's the recovering bodybuilder. She saw you probably coming in. It's like, oh, I know the exact path here, so I'm going to be hard as shit on this guy when he comes in. And fortunately, you know, it worked really well from there. Yeah, so, she figured me out. She read, look, you know, she could see right through me. She knew what was going on. But she helped me. What martial arts discipline did you get into? Yeah, so it's a complicated answer. That my instructor, I would say I would liken the training that I do is closest to Jeet Kune Do. The style that he is teaching is a style called Jimu Do, which means mind, body, and spirit. But he had a Korean master and a Chinese master, and he black belted in a lot of different disciplines himself. And so what he teaches is kind of a mix up of all these things. He had a wrestling background too, and so he just kind of, it's not a pure form. I mean, that's my short answer. There's no pure form, and I'd say, but Kung Fu is the base of my martial arts training. And then he's piled on a lot of other things. And it's funny, this is one of those instances where I just trust him. You know, I just trust the master and just show me. And but a lot of people will ask me specifically what forms that we do. And it's hard for me to answer. But for me, it's just like, he reads me really well, just like my yoga teacher did. And so I did get a 2nd degree black belt with this system, but he puts so little value anymore on, he's like, I won't train you for tournaments because that doesn't train you for real life. That's you could do that on your own if you want to, but I won't support you in that. Because you train for sport, and if you get in a real situation in life, that's how you're gonna respond. And it's like, and you might cost you your life there, because you're not gonna hit vital points because that's illegal in the mat. So like, you can't hit eyes and groin and all these spots that you really would use if it was a life or death situation. So we never train like that. So you don't like tournaments, you don't like belts. And that, in the more I studied Bruce Lee later in life, Bruce was doing the same things eventually. You know, he got there where he was talking about that, where
belts, like Mr. Miyagi said, the belt holds your pants up, it's, and so anyway, so my long answer is Kung Fu primarily, but just as Bruce Lee, he was a Kung Fu primarily, martial artist, but he expanded it and created his own thing,
Sure.
Jeet Kune Do. And that's kind of what my instructor did too. And he's only down to a couple students anymore. He's early 60s now, and he's kind of backed off a lot of classes and stuff, but I'm still in it. And so I almost get private instruction from him. So it's incredible. Wow. It's incredible that he still works with me like this. So I love it. Yeah.
That's so cool. It's got to almost is probably like, it's almost like, it's not like student teacher probably as much. It's almost like a collaboration probably at some point with you two now when you guys get together.
It does feel like that. It does feel like that. I mean, he was so mean, so tough, and just like, man, it's the same sort of deal with my yoga teacher, but I attracted that. There's something on my face that made them want to just like, I don't know what it was. So I deserved it, whatever it was.
This guy can take a lot of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And eventually we became friends, but we really don't talk a lot of personal stuff. I mean, when it comes down to training, as long as we've been around each other, I spent thousands of hours with this guy, thousands. Yeah. And we barely even touch on really personal stuff. Occasionally we'll get something real heavy's going on, we'll talk about it. But for the most part, and he's never sick. He's always at class. I'm fortunately never sick. I don't have to cancel for class. So like I never miss, man. Like my wife knows, and everybody knows. Like, and my clients know. Like that's devoted. Like I'm martial arts 3 days a week. I won't miss it.
Sure.
So I love that. When he stops, I don't know what I'll do with that. But I got a lot of ways to train. But
no doubt,
it's not my base. I'd say that's kind of like where my heart is like that martial arts training. And then the other things, like the hard style, the animal flow, all the other things I like to do, those fit in real nicely with it. But the martial arts, man, it gave me the mobility. Like I was so grateful for him, because the yoga gives you those strong holds and hold positions, and it gives you that discipline of like, man, you're just like fighting for your life, trying to get out of something. You just want to move. You want to get out of position, but your body's staying there because it's just about to change. It's just like that's what's happening. That adaptation's about to happen. So the body starts screaming at you, get out of this position, get out of this position. And so you got to just breathe through it and stay with it. And then before you know it, you can hold these things a lot longer than you ever thought you could. But yoga, like, a lot of people want to ask about animal flow and about, is it like yoga? And I was like, well, the only similarity I would say is that you don't have any additional equipment. It's just you and your body. And so, but beyond that, animal flow is very different than the typical yoga class, because you're challenged now to move through these choreographed movements. You're building up momentum. You're being explosive. Yoga doesn't really demonstrate a lot of that. But animal flow gives you a chance to be explosive and decelerate yourself under your own control. You can get creative with it once you learn all the, a lot of the movements. And so, would you say it's kind of close? Is animal flow kind of closer to martial arts than yoga? Sure. Yes. And that's one point I want to make too, is like, I'm funny, man. Cause like everything that I've taken on, any kind of physical thing I've taken on, I have totally sucked at, like completely sucked at, like when I started. But one thing that's different for me, like my brother was a real natural athlete. Everything he just picked up things like bowling or pitching, baseball. And he's like, everything was just like, he saw it and he could just do it. Yeah. My wife's like that too, but I am so not like that. I don't see things and just can emulate it. But here's the thing that I was blessed with. And so one thing I can thank my DNA for is that I will drill something beyond. I don't get bored. I don't with drilling something. I will do something over and loop it and do it over and over until I got that thing. And so I will eventually get good at this thing. I'll love it. But I got no problem being terrible at something, And so white belting a thing is I got no ego about that. I mean, I'm more than happy to take something new on and just like. And suck at it for a while. But animal flow was different. Animal flow, that was the first thing that I did that was like, man, I kind of can do this already.
Sure.
So martial arts gave me a big edge with that. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's so important to get into things that you're a beginner at, it's so easy. I've had so many conversations with, even in the kettlebell world, like talking with people on the GS side, cause I've been a hardstyle, practitioner for so long. It's so easy to get so pigeonholed into one thing, especially if you start building a little bit of some intelligence, some, body intelligence behind it and stuff. So that's why a lot of people, bodybuilding did this for me. So we just go that route, you know, it's like, or yoga did this route. They did like, and I just, staying there, or I did this, or I did this. Where I like talking with people like you, David, because you've done a lot of different things and are not like, this thing is better than this one. No, this can help benefit this one. This one benefits, you know, this one. And it is important getting to, you know, be strong first, you know, put a little plug on that, you know.
It is. And from me, my task is, you know, you hear about this golden thread. They're like, so original strength, Dan John talked about original strength as this golden thread between fitness of just like, it ties everything together, you know? And so like, you can implement it as a warm up. You can implement it as part of your circuits. You can just do it daily. Just do vitamin, you know, just like snacks of original strength, you know, the resets and just keep doing those things. And I agree with that. But there's other golden threads, you know, there's animal flow can be a golden thread, you know, hardstyle can be a golden thread. It can tie other things together for you. But it's like my task as an instructor, and, you know, I'm fortunate I got this laboratory to work with, and I got all these willing, you know, students to work with. And I try to tie it all together for them. You know, I try to just filter it all together. And that's kind of one thing with this Black Dragon Yoga. The reason why I started it, it's a blend of, essentially it's just a blend of martial arts and yoga and just things I've learned along the way. And I started it because I was looking for Black Dragon Yoga. I was looking for martial arts and yoga. I wanted to see if somebody has done it before, where they have a video or they got a book that on yoga that lends to their martial arts practice. I just want to be a better martial artist. You know, I just want to be better at it. And so I already do yoga, but I don't know if anybody has said, okay, this set of movements specifically for your martial arts. But I bought a book on Amazon. I literally found one book that somebody did something along those lines, and it was not good. You know, and so I thought, well, maybe I need to be the one that does this, because I just haven't seen it yet. And I just thought, I wanted to get to the bodybuilders too. I wanted to maybe learn some of this. This is going to save you down the road, you know, from injury prevention and things like that. Maybe yoga. I know it doesn't seem like something that would fit in there, but I've been there, and I've seen the results, and I see what it's done for me. So like, I just wanted to offer, just like the Herschel Walker thing of like, I want to give the yoga to the martial arts people, and I want to give the martial arts to the yoga people. I want to give explosiveness and coordination, and you can use some of your balance, you know, single leg movement, you know, balancing on one leg from yoga. It certainly lends to you throwing a kick combination and things like that. So I thought they did fit very well together. So I started this whole series, and I did, I got there's my DVDs, and I know nobody buys DVDs anymore, but I still am making the DVDs. I do have digital download options for them, and I'm still going to finish the project. I have 7 that I'm making. I've done 4 of them so far.
Oh, nice.
But they each hit different you know, they have different emphases each. I mean, they're essential workout videos, but and now what I really want to do, like with the strength community, is to say, man, I'm all into it myself. Like, I totally get it. Like I train like that. I love, you know, Quick and the Dead. I got all these protocols, you know, I'm way into Pavel and all that work. And I'll be strong first as long as they'll have me, you know? But I want to try to get to them and say, like, there's also other ways that you might be neglecting. If you're just on that train track of just the strength work, and you love it, and you're hooked on it and everything like that, and you've seen all these great results, and it's changed your life and anything like that, don't forget, you know, where, you know, you might just not be changing, you know, challenge yourself in the real multi-planar ways. And I don't want you to get hurt, you know, I don't want you to be on the sideline. And I say that to the same with yoga people too. Like, is your grip strength being challenged? You know, right. Yeah. You know, and so there's a lot of stuff that you'll need as a hunter gatherer that you're going to need to be able to, you know, that's a, you know, what do you call it? Longevity measurement of, you know, your ability to get up and down off the floor by yourself, and then your grip strength too. So if you only did yoga, you could get yourself in great shape, but there's some big missing pieces there. Yeah. So that's my mission, man. I want to just say, like, I want to harmonize you. You know, if you're real extreme in one thing, I want to be able to give you that little balance thing to help you out. So that's been my mission, man. I love it.
I love it. That's my favorite word, is harmonize. You know, it's better than balance, because nothing's ever balanced on it. It needs to be in harmony with it. You know, it's interesting because, like, everything, if you go so far down the line of just one thing, eventually there's going to be a trade-off of something. You know, it's like you can go on the nutrition, sure. Side. If you can eat chicken broccoli, you can get as, like, depleted down as possible, and you'll drop a lot of body fat and you'll look great if you want to go on stage and stuff like that. Eventually you're going to have a major micronutrient deficiency. Things are going to change up. You can do that for, for seasons. It's like, it's one of my favorite things from the Tao, seasons, come and go, then they return to the root. You got to go back to foundational practices. And I've said that, I've even said that with, I talked with Oz the other day about that, because we were talking about mobility. And I said, since I started this job where I work from home a lot more, I'm sitting a lot more than I ever did before. My mobility changed over a couple of years where before I was just like, I can hammer out a leg raise. My shoulder mobility was fine, a little bit of warm up, and I just got right into training. And now I was like, okay, things changed over time. Like I went deep down the strength, work, got really strong. It's awesome. But the other side, the flip side of it, eventually it caught up. It took a few years down the line where I got away with it, but eventually that comes in. And seeing specifically mobility, I think, is so interesting, because some people might have natural mobility, but the mobility that I see you portray with the work that you do with stick mobility and with Black Dragon, there's such a strength component that needs to be there as well. There's body control. So it's like those things are such the yin and yang of them both together. And I think specifically for a lot of people I work with who are looking to get stronger, but a lot of them are so non-mobile, like just getting some mobility, to do it. I think combining it in a way that works like you, where there's a strength piece to it. I think it seems like it might be more easily digestible for people than just going, because nobody wants to stretch. Right. Nobody wants to stretch. Do it as part of a practice together. That's where I talked to Kelly Manzone about stick mobility. It's like, okay, this is a different path that I think people can go down. I think it's really cool.
Stick mobility is much easier sell than yoga for a lot of people. It's still, yoga is a lot more mainstream than it was when I started getting into it myself. And it was funny too, when I started teaching private yoga lessons at the gym I was working at. I told my dad that I was doing that, and he's up in Missouri still. I'm down here in Texas, and I said, "Oh, Dad, this yoga has been paying off, because now the gym I'm in, my boss asked me if I could start teaching one-on-ones, and he was going to start feeding me some subcontracted business, and I was going to start getting some more clients like that way, because there's nobody teaching one-on-one yoga." And so my dad said, well, do that while it seems popular right now. You do it while you can, almost like it's a Trinity thing. I was like, well, Dad's been around 2,000 years plus. I think it's not going anywhere, so we'll see how this works. Right. But it was great, because even my boss was like, the name of my gym was called the Studio Extreme Training. He's like, can you make it extreme? I said, oh yeah, we can make this hard, And so I had people that were kind of reluctant to try it, but then they started to see like, oh man, this is hard, because I brought a lot of strength component to it. I had long holds of down into a 1 inch off the floor plank, just holds and stuff like that. And so before, it's like, man, this is yoga. They're pouring sweat and they're dying and stuff. Yeah. And so and then they realize like, oh, I do have strength background. I'm just not like this, this yoga dude. But anyway, it was very cool. Like, it was like, I kind of got, typecast as the yoga instructor for a long time. And it took a while for people to come around to realize that, oh no, I have the strength back. I can train you conventionally too, and I can train you in all these other ways. But it did give me a niche, So I was very grateful for that. That yoga is giving back so much, man. And so I'm so grateful for it. The spiritual component too that's there. It's just like so. I always come back to that. That's always kind of where my heart's at.
No doubt.
Yoga
Well, and the spiritual connection, that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we can go down there. But when people come to you for this, are they looking for one thing a little bit more specific than the other? Because you're working with strength, you're working with mobility, there's a martial arts component. Do people have a little bit of a background in more of one of them? Are they coming more as like kind of total beginners and this is a brand new thing for them? Like, what are usually the people that are coming in and approaching you?
Man, depends. It depends on all different things. Some people come in, they're just like, I'm just trying to get in shape. I COVID, kicked my butt and I just need a trainer, and they might come in. And so we'll just start from wherever. And so I might do run them through an FMS and start to identify some things and start to say okay, well, here's what we could do, Right. And I say, there's so many ways up this mountain. If your barbells make you nervous, then we won't touch that. We won't touch this. But I'll start you out with this, get you moving and get you and start to see the answer is, who knows? I mean, but I will program people for things. I've prep people for their strong first certifications. I prep them for, I've done program design for that stuff. So man, it just all depends. I hate to give you an answer like that, but it's just like, people come for all different things. And then I also get referred a lot from people at the gym here. There's like, man, my client, he can't hit a deep squat to save his life. I mean, can you work with him for a while and just give them some strategies? Of course I will. And I'll just, like I was going back to about the sticks are so much of an easier sell than yoga, is that when you hand those orange sticks to somebody and they have them drive them to the ground, they start to feel like, oh my God, man, my lats are engaged, man, my core is fired up. Like it's an immediate, it'd be such like a trade show. You get those things out. It's like, man, I think I need these things. I must have these sticks because man, I've never felt some of this stuff. But I love the sticks. And like when I got certified through those guys, I did an online with them, and I just thought I was going to get a bunch of different stick moves. I bought a set of sticks and I didn't know what to do with them really, but I just thought they were going to give me and that was totally worth the price of admission to me. But they have a system, man. I mean, they get very deep into the muscular subsystems and chains. And I mean, those guys are legit, man. Dennis and Neil. Yeah. And I know those guys now. Dennis did a certification here. And so like really, really great guys. But the sticks are legit, man. And I've been doing mobility as a specialty for, decades now. And for me to grab a tool that says this is a game changer, I mean, it really is. Yeah. So I highly recommend those. And you're starting to see them more and more. You start to see in some professional sports, you're seeing some people warming up, seeing some pitchers working with some sticks and stuff like that.
Exactly. So
it's starting to trickle in, man. It's so good for you.
Yeah, as soon as you start to see some of the celebrities doing these things and they get a clip, then it just pops up. It's funny that you said that about Herschel Walker with ballet, because I remember when he did that, and then all of a sudden, like everything was. And my girlfriend's a dance teacher, so I remember we saw something because Kobe took tap. Because he like picked up his daughter. I remember he picked up his daughter from like a tap class and was seeing how they were moving. And this was after his Achilles injury. He ruptured his Achilles and he was coming back. And he went up to the teacher and I think said something like, "Can you teach me how to dance?" And she looks, it's like it's freaking Kobe Bryant in here. But it's the same thing. He's like always looking for any type of little edge to get better at his craft, from there. And, the stick mobility is interesting because I used them a bit when I was learning kinstretch, my former partner, Chris, who was in kinstretch and FRC. And we started doing more kinstretch based work, which is kinstretch is nasty. I'm sorry. Like it is very tough to do it. I mean, it's so when you get into the pails and rails work of it, it's like, I mean, the amount of tension that you're generating in your body is like, this is not like, we called it a mobility class when we had the studio. Like, this is not mobility class. Like, this is not like, oh, I had a hard week of training, so I'm going to come in and relax during this time. You're going to get some work done. I kind of see the same thing with stick mobility. Like there's a strength, there's a nervous system component that's going on with this.
That's right. The irradiation that, the strong force really pushes to me. It's definitely there and like really teaches you to really know your body so much better. And I went through the FRC and I did kinstretch as well. And you're right, man. I took kinstretch in Portland and I remember we just trained all day and we did all these movements, pails and rails, and we did all, it's everything. Right. And so I got back to my hotel and I was exhausted. And I was talking to my wife and I was like, I said, man, I feel so crippled because we only did all these movements. He threw all these movements out, but we only did it on one side. Like we just do, from a 90-90, we do all these lift offs and do all these things, but then they teach us something and then we just move on to the other side, but it wasn't the same thing. She's like, well, why don't you just go through and redo all the other stuff on there? I'm like, that's impossible. Like, there's no way. That's another 8 hours of that. So I'm just going to be way crippled for the next couple of days just from all this stuff. But you're right, man. Even for it's like somebody that's my main thing. That put me down too, man. It beat me up. But Spino is funny. Dr. Spino is funny because with FRC, and you went through that, right? So did you do the weekend?
I did, and I learned it secondhand.
Okay, so he's funny, man. You got to talk to him one of these days. I mean, he's a very interesting character. I mean, he has built up so much with his the literature. I mean, that's like his specialty. Like he'll just kick your butt with the literature. He knows the science so well. But he's got a chip on his shoulder too, against like every form, even chiropractor. That's what he was, So he bashes everything all across the board. He even tells that for front hand. It's like, I'm going to offend you today. So just get used to that. So like, if you're a yoga person, I'm going to offend you. If you're a CrossFit person, if you're whatever you are, I will definitely take a shot at you today. But the one thing that he actually shows respect for was the stick mobility. It was like, that was the only thing that he was like, okay,
gosh,
those guys are legit. But everybody else, you guys suck, you know?
That's funny. Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, a lot of people, it seems like I've taught people more of body weight based work, and body weight stuff is some of the most challenging things to coach, like, because you have external loads. Like, I mean, teaching kettlebells. I mean, now it's like, it's teach somebody how to swing a bell. I mean, it's like, it's cake, but like teaching somebody proper push-up position. Like I remember, like I've never been more sore than coming back from SFB, and it's a 2-day type thing. And I was cracking up with Mike Torres. I was like, dude, I feel like I had the flu. Like I feel like sick. I was, going home on the plane because you're generating so much tension through your body. And it's like, it's learning that system of it. And then to be able to move that and transfer that into the stick mobility, into animal flow, where now you have control of it. It's kind of like that dominata. Like now you don't need to generate as much tension. You just have control of it. There's there's a grace and a creativity to the movement that I think is so interesting, to it. And I think it almost like, it seems like seeing the work that you've done, it almost seems like there's an intuitive aspect of the next kind of movement that comes. It's almost like a dance when you see it. And
it is. It's so fun.
It has such a deeper, it has such a deeper connection. Like for somebody like me, I'm like, that's something I want to aspire to do. That's mastery right there. And I think more people need to look at that of like, this is different than just going in and training. Like this is building skill development. This is mastering something in life. And that seems like it carries over a lot more into everything else that you're doing in life.
Here is, and you're absolutely right. Here's a really interesting thing about animal flow. And this is just kind of my own personal experience, messing with it. And then, and becoming an instructor and everything, is that there's something kind of unspoken. Once you get down on the ground and you got your hands on the ground and you're moving on the ground, there's something, and I've been trying to figure it out. And I think that I've discussed it with some people about, there's something, very childlike, it's taking us back to our roots of our original strength training, which was, all we could do is like start to move our heads, right? Just move our eyes first, then our head, and then we start to move and roll and all that kind of stuff.
Then shoulders,
And the excitement, of once we start, and I see, because I got three daughters, all under 11 and under. And so I've gotten to see like front row and see them begin to be able to do, roll over for the first time. And how exciting that is, because your whole world now is flipped upside down. You only knew this one way of perceiving the world, and now it's flipped. And so it's like, you can see it in their eyes. And I think that's what happens with animal flow, because I think those seeds are still in our bodies. And it brings us back to that childlike, that playfulness, in those little victories. And so those, even though we don't, consciously remember those things, there's something about that tactile and just getting down. And we got all these receptors, proprioceptors all through the hands and feet. And when they don't get stimulated, we're not getting down on the floor at all, they just start to dull. We're not getting all the proper information about the world around us. But when you're on the floor, you got to feel the amount of pressure that's in your hands on the floor, and the heat and cold. And there's so much information is going, so the brain just fires up so much. So there's something just very good feeling about animal flow, and or any of those kind of movements. If you're doing rolling on the ground and crawling and all this kind of stuff. So it doesn't have to be animal flow, but there's something about that kind of training that we just don't do, man. Once we've became bipedal, you wouldn't see the use in it. Maybe as we're kids, we're still wrestling around and stuff like that. But after that, we're stuck in a chair, and then we maybe play sports or whatever. But, the usefulness of getting down on the ground again and doing anything like crawling and doing anything dynamic, it's just not a necessity to us as hunter-gatherers anymore. Right. But now as adults, getting back down there and it's a sensate thing, man. It's not something I'm trying to explain it, but it's maybe not very well, but
Yeah. No, well, it's funny. I read something, they were talking about gardening and how that was so big for people as like a meditative aspect of it. And there's a lot of things too. It was the way that you fed your family, early on. It was this connection. But they said that the texture of it, of actually getting your hands in the dirt, you're on the ground, you're connected, with the earth, not just with your feet. I mean, there's a lot of benefits, they said, of, just walking barefoot, through the ground, through the ground, feeling the ground as your connection, but getting on your hands and knees and kind of getting that flow too there. It's something that it's something innate with the connection of, of Mother Nature that you get into. And that's
right.
I mean, and you see it, and even like, you can see it from even like a social media post somebody puts out there, and you even like see that there's something different about that. It's really impressive to the guy who's crutching out bench presses and hitting PRs in the gym. Like that's, all for it. But there's something very different about it. And that's where I think you need to build the discipline and get those things down, build that strength up first. But these things it's a different type of connection. And I think if you have a mental fog at all, if there's like something that's not connecting, if there's something that's not connecting on the physical side, then changing it, doing something like this, I think is a good answer to it.
Well, yeah. And that's my clients, I get a lot of feedback from them about what their experience is with it. And I mean, as you know, like you don't really learn something until you start teaching it, right? And so you start really understanding like, oh, this is why I was taught it that way, So now the wisdom is flowing through you. It's not just, you're not just getting constipated from this, input. Now it's like you're teaching it now. And so you have to simplify, you have to put it into words that, you kind of understand it, but now I gotta verbalize this in a way that's going to make some kind of sense to this person. But some feedback I'm getting is that like, man, I can't think about anything else when I'm doing this. I can't think about grocery lists. I can't think about anything because I'm so like, I'm just going to fall on my face if I, I'm trying to do some of these animal flow movements, dynamically, it's not going to work, but you don't have very far to fall. So it's,
right.
super nervous about that. Right. But it's just fun. And I would describe what the animal flow is that actually you could get a lot out of just the traveling, like the quadruped, just traveling, forward and reverse, just, what they call traveling beast and reverse, and then, you turn it over into a crab position, but you can get so much just out of the base movements there. But if you want more, you can learn basically, it's almost like learning an instrument. You're learning more of the scale, so you learn all these different movements and then you start making music with that, or you learn the alphabet basically. And then you start making words with it. You start making, so like making songs out of it. So once I coach somebody up and they learn enough of the movements, and I think total through all level 3, I think there's like 63 movements or something like that. So you get a good familiarity with that. Maybe they just really know 8 of them. Well, you can start creating flows out of that. And so you almost call it out almost like a Simon Says, or okay, now I need you to do this with your right leg. I need you to do this. And so they got to figure out a strategy. Sorry, somebody called. I got to get this index. Sorry. Okay, there you go. Sorry about that. So you're putting together a strategy of like, how do I get there from here? I'm in this kicking position, but you're asking me to do the scorpion position. So like, but after a while, you don't even really think about it. Your body's just already knows what to do. And so it's really fun that's where the flow state starts to happen. And here's another cool thing is that it's huge internationally. Like how soccer is huge outside of America, and it's important to us, but it's not like it is, when you go to Brazil.
Anywhere,
absolutely. Like that. Animal flow is like that. Man, animal flow is huge. Like I took the level 3 certification. I did that virtually, and there's 50 people in there, and I think there was like one other American. Even though it's taught by an American, developed by an American, there was like that was it. So I was in these chat rooms with these people that were in the middle of the night. It's like 9 a.m. here, and it's like 3 a.m. there. And I was like, man, that's commitment. Like they're like somebody from Hong Kong or wherever, So like, it was so cool. And so, but what's cool about it is that you can flow with people that even if you don't even understand each other's, you don't have a common language, you have a common language with these movements. So you can totally, yoga doesn't have that. Like yoga is interpreted so many different ways with all different people. Like some people call poses something totally different.
Right.
Animal flow is a system that we all adhere to the rules, and then you can flow with each other literally all around the world. And so it's such a cool community to be part of like that. So that's another
so cool.
plus
Yeah, it's the language of the world. It connects us. That's so cool.
And then
David,
go ahead.
Oh no, just go ahead.
I was just going to say too, is like, so the level 3 is what I was able to achieve a couple of months, the last month or two. And there's only one other American that has that right now. I mean, there will be more, but at this time that I'm the only one that holds elite, strong person elite, and then the animal flow level 3 for the time being. I'm the only one that has combined those worlds so far, but somebody else will do it. But so it was a big deal for me once I knew that was a possibility for me, that I could hit that high level in this world too. Yeah. So anyway, it's been a lot of fun pursuing these things.
I think that's so cool because I mean the hard style aspect. Why I loved it so much when I got into it was kind of like what you said with your clients. Like you can't think about anything else. Like you can't be like doing snatching, doing double clean and jerks, doing presses and stuff. Like you need to be in the zone. And I realized like, oh wow, like all of a sudden, like 15, 20 minutes of focus, like not only was I seeing the benefits of it, but I was just feeling better like in it. Like when you get that into that flow state, I would said some great conversation with Sifu Singh about that, of the natural state of flow and getting into that. And it's I think it's an underrated thing that we don't talk about as much as coaches, of getting in, of like putting people in that, because flow is one of the most enjoyable things when you get into it. And you know how to get into it. And it's like it's so easy to take these things so serious with people, because especially with people who are maybe brand new to this, like everything's new. So they're a little on edge. Like they're not sure about this, and they want to take it serious. It's like, no, make it enjoyable. And that's what I was like, I could see how these, marry so well together. I thought when FMS and ground force method worked together, I thought that was great. The strength piece of that with animal flow, I kind of see the same, things coming together. So I'm going to dive into it a lot more personally myself. And I hope a lot more people do as well.
Man, I'd love to help you with that. Yeah. Just let me know.
Yeah, no doubt. So David, dude, it's great connecting with you, man. So this time flew by. We'll have to do this again for a part 2.
Yeah. I'd love to.
Yeah. If people want to check out your work, check out, Black Dragon Yoga, where can they go and grab that?
Yeah. So blackdragonyoga.com is where you're going to find the videos and some, ways to get a hold of me and things like that. Black Dragon Method is my Instagram handle. So Black Dragon Method is the handle, and then Black Dragon. So Method is, I wanted to have that more as my brand than Black Dragon Yoga by itself, because I just felt like there was so many other things that I was really kind of into and offering people. So I don't want people to say, let's just only just see yoga person, or even just yoga martial arts, but there's absolutely, I can help you with it. All the, the hard style and animal flow. And, I teach breathing. I hold breathing classes and, all of that stuff too. So like, it's all important, and it's all super fun. But blackdragonyogas.com is the website. And then Black Dragon Method is how you can get to me through Instagram.
Awesome, brother. So this was a blast, dude. So great connecting. Listeners, go follow David. I will check you guys on the next one. Peace. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found some great value here. And if you like this episode, please drop a comment and leave us a 5-star rating and review. It does more to build the show than you can imagine. And do not forget to check out and join the Strength Connection Facebook group. In this group, I share the biggest takeaways and lessons from these amazing conversations, as well as training and strength tips for pursuing mastery and fulfillment in life. This group is filled with individuals looking to take full control over their strength, and it's the perfect space to explore new ideas and to share your journey. And you'll also get exclusive access to these Strength Connection Mastery seminars. It's a deep dive into the physical, mental, and spiritual training that you can begin using immediately. So do not wait, go now. Seriously, go. All right, much love to you. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you on the next one.